Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic Indie Creator interview. It's your Caper Sarah Cody, and we're keeping it geekly with our returning guests, Michael Katz, Daryl Banks, and Keith Champagne, here to break down Horror Show and Daybreak Issue 4, two awesome campaigns currently live on Kickstarter. But before we do that, guys, welcome back to the show. How's everybody been? I know we got three different guests, so Mike, let's start with you.
Hey, thanks for having us back, Cody. It's good to be back. I missed you. Yeah, I haven't talked in a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to, the thing is, I did a lot of these, where this is interview 430, and it seems like every time we get you guys on the show, it's like 100 shows in between, and I had to take a little breather, had to get life together and come back a little bit stronger. We ended up taking a script writing class with Amy Chu, so that kind of, I feel like, really helps me understand things a lot better and maybe get a little bit more intricate with the questions. But Daryl, what about you? What have you been up to lately?
Oh, doing great. Looking forward to having Horror Show fun, and I think it will. And since it's something so different and outside of my wheelhouse, I really want to know what people think of it.
No, I had the chance to actually read both of these comics before show, and I loved everything about Horror Show. I loved the design, how like intricate these environments felt. It felt like I was in like the 1970s, and I think you two both did like a remarkable job with it.
Thanks.
Last and not least, certainly not least, we have the Keith Champagne. Welcome back. How have you been as well, man?
Oh, I'm doing great, Cody. Thanks for having me back. And much like Daryl, I'm looking forward to Horror Show being funded, because I've been lucky enough to read the whole thing also, and actually worked on it as the lettering monkey. And I've never seen Daryl's art look better. It's the second or third project of Daryl's, I think, that I've lettered, and he keeps growing project by project. It's kind of crazy. You think he can't get any better, and then he tops himself again.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
For everyone who's listening right now, Daryl's like worked on the Green Lantern, so like just even getting that amount of praise is like he's already hit like such high level with his work. It's like, whew, this man's killing it.
He is, and it's different. You know, like he himself has said, it's outside his wheelhouse.
I think digital unlocks something in you, Daryl, working digitally. Whereas like your stuff was always like really dynamic and solid, and the storytelling's always been great. But there's layers of perspective now. Like it seems more intricate, your compositions. Mm-hmm. And that's what your drawing always improves naturally. As you draw, you get better and better. But I think something about the digital when you transition has really opened you up to just.
The reason that is that once I got a Wacom Cintiq, and I've got programs that can match my ideas, and my art can finally match. Because a lot of times when I was working traditional, especially with perspective, it was limited to how much space I had on my drawing board.
Yeah, right. The vantage point's going to go so far.
Right. So with the programs I use, there's no limit whatsoever with perspective. So it's things I always wanted to do, but now, I don't have any limitation.
Let me ask you a personal question, Gerald, just between the four of us. Okay. Are you actually an AI algorithm art?
I don't exist. I'm just more like this. I'm what you get when you put all the average things that a person could be, and I'm just like a background character.
He's an NPC.
It is remarkable, though. I really loved just the designs of the characters too. I thought you really nailed it. We had a couple different, like, I don't want to spoil too much, but a couple different like versions of the main character. I think you really just like nailed. One of my favorite parts is like the setting. We're in Minnesota. It's snowy. It's like the perfect horror setting. Michael, I really enjoyed the first couple pages. You do a remarkable job setting up breadcrumbs for like the suspenseful like environment we're about to be diving into. And then it's like whiplash, whoosh, and it's like, holy crap, we are in for like a roller coaster. This is something kind of out of your wheelhouse as well, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's my first horror comic, but I have written horror prose in the past. I did one horror novel I co-wrote with someone. It was a horror western called Six Guns and Sorcerers, and I edited a book, which I tell people I translated famous old horror writers like Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft. I translated the writing into modern day English, while keeping the original flavor and pacing, so people could more easily understand what's going on without reading these archaic writings.
So when you were designing we're allowed to talk about the main character without spoiling too much?
Sure.
When you were designing the main character, I mean, what was some of the visions you had in your head that you wanted this character to be like?
Well, he's an amalgamation of different characters from different movies and TV shows. Part of the inspiration is actually from the Bosch novels by Michael Connelly. Because if you ever saw the Bosch TV show on Amazon Prime, they're based on a series of novels, and he was a Vietnam vet who was a tunnel rat in Vietnam, and the tattoo that Ben Horowitz has is from the Bosch novels.
That's
So,
cool.
like all these little details, and I did a lot of research. I tried to make the dialogue, pertinent to that that northern Minnesota area too. So it reads a little bit like you're reading an episode of Fargo.
I really like, once again, like the breadcrumbs, the way Ben is like just a badass, and it's not until a little bit later we actually like realize like what he's been through. And I really, really enjoy, scenes in particular where we get to see Ben kind of lose a little bit of restraint, a little bit of that calm demeanor, and let his tunnel rat show a little bit. Like Ben is ruthless.
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, the catchphrase for the book is the man inside the monster versus the monster inside the man, and I had to flesh that out. That PTSD suffering, violent ex-cop, character Ben, and how would he react when the circumstances are people he loved are taken from him or endangered, and he just kind of goes crazy. Whereas most of us would just run away from a monster, he runs towards it.
And you were the first one backstage. I remember telling you first thing out of my mouth is like, you're a dark, dark man. You're twisted, Mike. You're twisted. So Daryl, you've worked with Mike previously on other projects. What was your initial thought when you got the script for Horror Show? I mean, this is a pretty dark story.
Well, I mean, it was actually while I was still working on this. Keith, look familiar?
It does look familiar. Yeah.
It was while we were waiting on some script, because Ron writes in segments. So, Michael said, I've got this idea of the story I came up with, while we're waiting on a script for Riot Earp. How would you feel about doing something horror? I know you're not known for that. And I thought, when I used to teach, I used to tell my students all the time to challenge yourself. And I thought, but horror, people don't know me for that, and would I do it justice? But I thought, I'll never know until I find out. So, the more I worked on it, the more I liked it. It helps that the characters were fleshed out. That I really liked what we were doing. Yeah, there's no spaceships, there's no aliens or anything like that, but I feel like there were. Well, Michael sold me on. He was going for that old late night cable VHS tape feel, and I thought, I love that stuff. I mean, I can't say I'm a big horror buff, but back in the day, like the old Sci-Fi Channel, and when it actually was sci-fi, or the older school horror stuff I used to watch on late night TV. He said that's the vibe he was going for. Like, that was when I was most interested, so I kind of channeled that.
And I really, really love too the way you went about, like, I guess the more gore aspects of this, like where in some cases we might see it overdone. It's like you had the perfect application of it, and it was just like the perfect chef kiss on top of like the suspenseful feeling, I feel.
You got to use your imagination. I mean, to this day, to me, Jaws, we know what a shark looks like, and if that mechanical shark had worked, I think we wouldn't be talking about that movie to this day. But it's what you imagine. It's not, little kids aren't afraid of the monster under the bed. They're afraid that there might be a monster under the bed. You know, it's that anticipation. That I don't want to go in the basement because there could be a monster down there. It's not like they know there's a monster down there. So I think when you prey on that, that can create some tension.
So
there's a lot of intent to keep the monster a secret as long as possible, just like Jaws and Spielberg.
And when that initial like introduction is just and that it's like the perfect setup, and that's why I was so surprised, because I haven't read any horror from you, Michael. So when I read all the beats and everything, I'm like, dude, like Michael is killing it right now. Keith, what was your impression when you read it? You said you had a chance to read it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I read it more or less page by page as I was lettering it. So there's definitely a sequence in there that made me think, like, do I really know Mike Katz at all? What is wrong with this guy?
Thank you.
Yeah, same thing that Cody brought up before this program.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's probably the same sequence.
I'm like, who hurt you, Mike?
Yeah, like what happened to you as a child there, pal? Because you need some therapy. And I bet that was probably Daryl's reaction too, reading the script when he got. I'm sure you know the scene I'm talking about too, Daryl. But yeah, it's a dark book, dude. But I like the basic concept of it. Is more or less, to me, the log line is like, Rambo versus Bigfoot. Not Bigfoot,
okay, yeah.
like not Bigfoot literally, but like a large, monster. And I think when you just break it down to that element of like this badass former soldier who's kind of tortured versus this monster that really has its own sort of tortured backstory that you find out along the way. It's an interesting story, but I just want to get Mike some therapy.
Yeah, therapist, if you're listening, please slide into his DMs, offer him like just a few minutes of just conversation.
At least it's not based on a true story.
Yeah, that we know of, but I feel like that's your childhood right there. In some dark way.
So, I mean, this is a one-shot as well. Mike, what was the direction for that? Did you just feel like the story just was better fitted for a one story, or you didn't want to really squeeze a couple issues out of it?
Nah. Most of the stuff I've been doing up till now, like all the Riot Earps are, even though it's a continuing series, each issue is a one and done story. And I wanted the same aspect with Horror Show to be, one and done. So you don't have to, wait and come back. I had actually originally made it as like a 4-chapter book in case I was going to try and sell it to Heavy Metal magazine before they went, belly up.
Yeah, you're welcome for keeping you out of there, by the way.
When did that happen? I must have missed a lot when I took my break from just interviewing.
You didn't miss much there, trust me.
So let's go ahead. Let's pull up the campaign. Let's check out some of these interiors, some of these rewards, and everything in between. So give me a few seconds. We're going to add it to the screen. Everyone that is watching, be sure to check this out with us as well. Let me go ahead and get a fresh link refreshed. So, I mean, at the end of the day, do you think you're going to be writing more horror? I mean, you have really good beats. You do a good job of building up the suspense. I would really love to see some more titles from you like this, Michael.
Yeah, I write what I feel like writing. So if a good enough horror story pops into my head one day, I'll definitely write it. I've got more Riot Earp on tap. I've got some superhero stuff, percolating in the background. But I mean, especially with Kickstarter, it's harder, and Keith knows it's harder to sell superhero stuff than anything else, I think. Sci-fi is easy. Horror, it hasn't been as easy to do this time around, but there are some horror projects out there that are very successful, and I've been started cross promoting with some of these people. But it's a very small niche, I think, in crowdfunding.
Hey, but Project We Love, congratulations on that. Is this the first campaign you've gotten it on, or?
Yep, and don't ask me how. Don't ask me why. I have no idea what the criteria are.
Hey, well, congratulations. We're looking at Horror Show, a chilling action in a 48-page standalone graphic novel, currently at $3,545 of a $5,000 goal. So you're right around that corner. 77 backers and 13 days left to go. So I mean, you're right at that kind of the middle peak of the campaign. And how are you feeling about it so far?
Well, I was hoping we'd be higher than we are now. I mean, our last project, Metalhead, had over 330 backers. And I'm hoping that some of these people come and see what high quality horror show is. I mean, everything is quality. I've been raving about Keith's lettering in a couple of the podcasts that Daryl and I have been doing. And Keith's only been doing lettering for a couple of years, and he's like an old pro.
Yeah. Keith, you really have been killing it with the lettering, I feel. I mean, I like first thought you've been doing it for like years. So it blows my mind you haven't been doing it that long.
It's a fun hobby is what it is. It's just a way to turn my brain off, and not like writing I find exhausting. And art is way fucking harder than anything else. So lettering is a way to be creative, but really just enjoy it. I find it to be a good hobby. So right here is a preview page, and Daryl, once again, this artwork is just beautiful. I love the different perspectives, the way you lay the paneling down. Like, it's not like a traditional panel. It's like layered on top, and then that bottom, you have that half splash where it's like just jagged and like I said, the gore is just like a chef kiss. It's not overdone. It's almost like it's perfect. This is beautiful.
Well, the script did outline, what to put in and what not to put in. And as far as panel layouts, I mean, it's not something we've never seen before, but my thing is always make it appropriate and don't have layouts overpower the scene. The number one thing is tell the story. I've seen comics, from artists I really admire, like let's say Neil Adams. Neil Adams will have like a whole page take place in the profile of a face, and he can make that kind of stuff work. And because it's Neil Adams. But with me, it's like I'm not going to experiment, but so much because I never want it to overpower the reader out of it. I want them to think of what's happening.
And I almost love how it gives like a shattering effect as well, like right, and it intensifies at the bottom right when we see her getting slashed. It's just, was that intentional?
Well, that was in the script as far as just the beginning of the slashes. Looking back, I think I could have been a little more consistent with the scale because I wasn't always sure how big the creature was, and I'm thinking sometimes it's so big I think the hand would reach around her body, and in that case it's small enough to scratch her face. I'm thinking, well, maybe he has different sizes or something.
But the layout of the panels is all Daryl. And he gets very creative in the book. I didn't have anything to do with these panels being jagged and overlapping each other, and I think pages like this make for a really cool, really different style.
And just the look of horror on her face. Like when you do designs like this, are you looking at any references? Are you consuming any sort of material to kind of help you get into that mindset?
Always. It's, to me, I like casting characters. I think about who would play this person in live action. That sometimes it's just maybe a generic face on that I googled or something, or sometimes I'm just making it up. And it usually when it's hands, it's just my own hands. So yeah, I've got the scary hand. But you mentioned the layout. Now, if you haven't seen this page lettered, Keith was able to incorporate her screams into the design, and it was a seamless integration. I was very happy with the results. Keith, I just wanted to tell you that I saw that.
Thanks, man. That was a hard panel to kind of approach because it's masterfully drawn, and I wanted to give that scream impact without covering up anything that you did.
You did it, man. You did. Not just that one, but all of them.
So how do you approach that, Keith? Because I know you know, as a letterer, you probably want to make sure your speech bubbles aren't like covering up, you know, good aspects of the art. Like how do you approach a page like this and letter it?
Well, I mean, going from memory, I don't feel like this page had a ton of dialogue in general, so I wasn't that worried about covering up anything. I'm never like, I don't like to cover up anything in a panel. If I do, you know, I don't sweat if I cover up a window in the background or something with a word bubble. But that bottom panel, you know, with that expressive face and those monstrous hands coming towards the lady, that I puzzled over that one for a little bit. Like, geez, how do I incorporate the scream in a way that it's going to have impact, but not cover up, you know? And Daryl's stuff is hard because, especially that Riot Up special that I lettered, I didn't want to cover up anything because he put so much work even into the sci-fi backgrounds and stuff like that. Like, I really puzzled over a lot of that. But yeah, it's just, I'm trying to work with the art and enhance the art in its own way. And lettering should be invisible as much as possible. But also, you know, find those moments of impact where you can kind of join the two in a synergetic way.
No, I love that. And it reminds me of like that meme with like house constructions, like electricians and plumbers, like how sometimes like the electrician will just run the wires right through the plumber. It's like they're not working in union. And it kind of feels like the same way with like a letterer or an artist. You know, a good team won't run that, you know, wiring through a pipe. They'll make sure to complement it.
Yeah. I had to go back and, you know, take out a little bit of dialogue here and there. Just you know, after I got Daryl's pages, just because I didn't want it to be too difficult for Keith, because I knew it was going to be tough, you know, to begin with, because I have a lot of words on the pages of this book.
Yeah, you're a wordy little bitch.
So right here we get a look at the creature in question, and this is such an ominous like way to kind of just put him in the background, shrouded in like the shadowing. I love like the touch of like just blood that you can barely see. Daryl, your attention to detail with these background designs are just gorgeous.
You know, Daryl, another part of your art, sorry to interrupt that, we were talking about your evolution, is I think when you ink yourself too, that brings out another layer of pure Daryl Banks, you know? Like when I think of your art at DC, I think of like Romeo inking you or Terry Austin, who were both amazing, but imposed a different style over your stuff at that time. And I think this is just, you know, pure Daryl Banks that we see, and it just blows my mind, dude.
Thanks. I got to tell you, a lot of it has to do with, and I'm very fortunate to work with like the inkers you just mentioned, like, you know, Romeo and Terry. But I did a 2-part graphic novel with Paul Neary, who passed away recently.
Oh yeah, right.
And when I would get the original art back, I always said the same thing, like, this is what I want my inks to look like. You know, it was like, when I grow up, I want to ink myself like this. It's more like, I felt like that's what I shoot for. I mean, like I said, Romeo, Terry, these guys are icons, but Paul, I think, was closer to my style, you know, but at the time, you know, there was no way I could have inked it. I mean, even now, but still, that was a lot of, you know, that was very inspirational as far as what I, you know, strive for what what I wanted to look like.
One thing I just love is like, once again, like the detail, like the way the ridges on this look like they're actually popping off. You know, the siding, it looks like it's, you know, siding. It doesn't look like it's just like straight lines with a ruler. You actually went in there and added a little bit of curvature to it. Even just the rounding of the car, you know, this perspective of like the ass end of the car, like the way you nail these perspective views is just awesome.
Thanks. You know, it's one of those things where in my class, I was always, you know, telling my students that perspective doesn't have to just be correct. It has to be appropriate, meaning you want to think about what kind of mood you're setting. It's camera angle, it's cinematography. I mean, we use the same terms.
Mm-hmm.
How long would you say, I mean, like just a panel off of this takes you? I mean, because it's so incredibly detailed. Like, does it take like a day or two, or?
I just, no page will ever match. I think it was page 6 or 7, the introduction to Cookie's Diner. That's easily one of the hardest pages I've ever done. And I love it because there were foreground and background elements that needed to be there. And, you know, it had to feel like a period, you know. and it was one of those things where it took a week to get it the way I want, just that panel, because I was never happy with what I was doing at first. I'm like, it was missing something, or there were details missing, so I had to get just that right focal length. And it's almost like I want this book to fund so people can see what I put into this thing.
I mean, I will say too, that diner scene in particular, each character looked different. Sometimes you'll see in background works where the characters aren't really super designed, or maybe they look a little bit similar to the other one, but each character felt like they had their own personalities to it. It was awesome.
I had to have that, because I get tired of seeing backgrounds where it just feels like no one cares. It's sort of like, have you ever walked into a diner and everyone looked the same? Like, no, And of course, in this case, like the hunters, they had to be very specific, because I knew I was going to have to draw them again. So they couldn't just be, burly guys in caps. They had to look different, because they would meet a variety of, let's say, they'll meet their fate in different ways. So they had to be, more specific. I couldn't let them be generic.
And so let's go ahead. We are going to scroll down, check out some of these add-ons as well.
Oh, that looks familiar.
Yeah, that's a little familiar.
Hey, Keith, who was that?
Mike, would you ever consider putting out like a black and white version of the stretch goal?
I guess. I mean, I don't have anything against it. I personally prefer color, so I just naturally assume everybody prefers color.
Well, I think everybody does prefer color. Right? Color sells. Color is more, grabs the attention. But Daryl's black and white stuff is so intricate.
Well, I have, I think, like 14 pages of back matter where I show a page of the script, then Daryl's layout, which is like almost complete in its own right, and then his black and white inks.
Oh, I love that.
So you can see how he, the steps that he takes, and like I said, it's amazing how once in a while he'll have a panel that is just supposedly a brief sketch, and it looks like you could go right on the final page as it is.
Let's go ahead. Actually, we're going to scroll on the side, check out the rewards first, then the add-ons. So let me put a nice brutal image up for us to look at while we do so. You can get the digital 48 plus version for $14. So the digital is going to include that bonus material where you're kind of breaking down the script.
So it's about 64 pages total.
That is not bad at all. Everyone watching right here is the link. Make sure to put this on Twitter and Facebook. Share it wherever you can. Sharing is caring, and it costs you absolutely nothing to do. But you could pick up the print version and the digital for just $7 more at $21. So this it's going to be 48 pages for the physical.
64.
64, or I mean physical. My bad.
You're right. 64 for both.
Oh, okay. All right.
And digital. Yep.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
You're getting everything. You're getting the pinups, the variant covers as pinups, nice and clean in the back of the book, so you can see the full art without any lettering on it. And you're getting, like I said, a bunch of making of the book. Not every page, but a lot of the best pages I picked out.
Mm-hmm. So we have the print version variant cover coming in at $25, and that's going to be this lovely cover right here. Who was the artist that worked on this?
That's David Diaz. He's done some pinups for me for Riot Earp, and I tapped him to do. I don't know if anybody's seen the TV show Hunters on Amazon Prime, but there's that actress who plays the character Roxy, and she was the inspiration for the character in Horror Show.
Oh, that's awesome. And I love just kind of how ominous this guy looks in the background. A little bit of detail right here, but we let the shadowing kind of just, create pictures in our head as well. And then just the eyes and the teeth. This thing is beastly. We have the Christmas Bat, Strider Nolan sampler, and everything at $40. So what are we getting in the Nolan Media Vault?
Yeah, that does better than I expect every time. You get 4 books from our back catalog. I dig in the archives, and you're going to get fiction, nonfiction, sci-fi, horror, poetry, or if you get the Christmas pack, it's a kid's book.
That is awesome. I'm wondering what that poetry's like from you after reading this and seeing how dark you can
Not
get.
my
Like,
poetry. No, not my poetry. I've edited and published 2 books of poetry from other.
oh, I was gonna.
Not
We
mine.
got to see the romantic side of Michael now. Like, and then we have the retailer tier at $100. So retailers out there, you can get 10 copies of this for less than half the cover price. Make sure to stock those shelves and get this in your store. Get that Daryl Banks commission and everything at $210. Daryl, are there any stipulations to this commission, or what guidelines do you have for it?
It can't be anything Green Lantern because I'm sick of Green Lantern. It could be, anything within reason.
And that's going to be on an 8.5 by 11 inches. So make sure to get some of this lovely artwork right here for yourself. Then that's it. That's all. Check out these add-ons as well. So we have the Riot Earp series.
All right.
And then Golden Years as well. I love this series. The way you did the flashback, I still remember just how awesome that was.
Right. Yeah, that was a fun book too.
That is awesome. So guys, once again, right here is the link. Be sure to check it out. And let's, while we're here, switch over to Daybreak. So Keith,
That was familiar too.
give us a little bit about Daybreak. I mean, we are on the 4th issue. What has happened in the last 3 previous issues?
Well, Daybreak, a hero that is invulnerable to anything, everything. She's more or less Superman in a way, solar powered. You can't really hurt her. Finds out that she has cancer in the 1st issue, and it doesn't make any sense because she's invulnerable to everything. Like, she shouldn't be able to get sick. She's never been sick before, and she has to turn to her arch enemy, a wacko named Doc Matter, who is more or less her Lex Luthor figure, for help. He's the only one that might be able to figure out what's going on and yada yada. They have a really twisted symbiotic relationship in that they're complete opposites. She's optimism, he's depression. She's good, he's evil. She's light, he's dark. And they're both from a galaxy far, far away that were sent to the planet Earth, when they were symbiotic little light and dark energy balls, and have grown up on Earth and become these people. So they're joined at the hip in a lot of ways, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And this 4th issue, this is where all the answers come spilling out. We figure out exactly how she did get sick, what it's all about, if Doc Matter has been involved in that sickness at all. Just a giant conclusion. It's full of spoilers and surprises for people that have been following the story. They're going to, I think, take everyone off guard with the way this thing goes.
I really love Doc Matter and just how insane this guy is. His mannerisms are just out of this world. And that was one thing I wrote down on my notes, just the way you write your mannerisms with these characters. Like, each character is completely different. How do you go about doing that? Like, for you, like, what works best for you when creating these characters?
Well, thank you. That's a really good compliment, first of all. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's working.
Daybreak, when I first started writing the 1st issue, like, the voice of that character was almost immediate on the page. It was something that was just there. The way the syntax of her speech and, her overall attitude. And the same with Doc Matter. Like, he starts out more or less as almost, I don't want to say like a cartoon villain, like a cartoon Dr. Doom type or whatever. But it's hard to say. Honestly, like, a lot of Doc Matter is Trump, and that he's so petty. You can't believe that. So there's a scene in issue 2 where he's in prison, and they're giving him instant pudding. He's like, "It better have whole milk in it," or something like that. And you play it for comedy, for a laugh in that scene, but he's also serious. Like, he wants whole milk. He better not get skim milk in his instant pudding. And it's like he's that petty, where he's going to come back and kill the guard at some point if he doesn't get that whole milk. You know.
If I got skim milk pudding, I probably would do the same. I didn't even know that stuff existed.
But he's a lot of fun to write, and he's always the smartest person in the room. He has an IQ of like 3,000 million or whatever it is, 380, I think I said in the handbook page. And he's always way ahead of everybody else. And and I think that's another thing. He's very impatient with people because he's so much smarter than everybody. He doesn't really relate to anybody else. And that's why he surrounds himself with these chimpanzees, these robotic chimpanzees that are his servants, because they don't back talk. They just do what he says. They're completely obedient, and yada yada.
I don't think it's spoiling too much, but like the credit page was just so humorous. I just loved how you went about doing that, and him just kind of like doing his thing, just being Doc Matter about it.
Yeah, I mean, I try to have fun with the credits page every issue. It's narrated by a character of each issue. I didn't do it in the first issue because I didn't think of it at that point. But in the second issue, I started having like Daybreak narrates the credits page in the second issue, and the custodian, who is a talking gorilla, he narrates issue number 3, and then Doc Matter does the 4th issue credit page. And I try to, as soon as the reader cracks that book open, I want them to start having a good time. And so we're starting with the credits page. But yeah, he's, and then Doc Matter handles it true to character. Let's just say that.
For everyone that is watching, right here is the link. Be sure to check out Daybreak issue 1 and 4 with us, and share this as well. Once again, sharing is caring. Twitter, Facebook, all of it. Put a link in there. Share it with your friends and family. We're looking at Daybreak issue 1 through 4, currently at $8,352 of a $6,500 goal, 159 backers, and 11 days to go. Congratulations on funding.
Thank you.
How you feeling about this campaign?
I'm happy with the way this has gone. I feel like Daybreak has built momentum from issue to issue in terms of the funding goal the funding total has going up every issue. So I feel like people are falling in love with the character, and we're lucky enough. We've opened up 2 stretch goals. We added an 8-page backup story. We added 2 more handbook style information pages about a couple of the characters, and now we're trying to open it up to a motion comic adaptation of Daybreak number 1.
Oh, that's cool.
Through a company, Bewildered Biscuit Productions are adapting it into a motion comic. And I think there's a 2-minute preview on the page somewhere.
Oh, is that right here?
Yeah, that's what that is right there. And if you have 2 minutes and you want to watch just 30 seconds of it, it's so fun.
I mean, we can play it right now if you guys want.
Yeah. So if we reach 10 grand, every backer gets gonna get a download of this thing.
So just because you guys are on the other end of this, you might not be able to hear the audio though. Just a heads up.
Okay.
Daryl's like super into it. Sorry, Daryl.
Oh, Vince, don't do this! It's not too late for you!
Scans are complete! Daybreak's file scans are uploading to the mainframe at Olympus!
We got it, boss. All the data you need.
Oh, Vince, you need to listen to me!
Stop calling me that! Daybreak? Owen St. Mater died when we were teens. You should know. You killed him. This is a new low for you, putting me in this position.
The editing
You're
on
the
this
one
is
everybody
awesome.
loves! Hero!
No voice actors.
After all the
production
years
quality
of
is super
blood
high.
and pain
They're really doing
between
a
us.
great job of banging this thing out.
Yeah, this is cool.
And it's a completely different way to experience Daybreak number 1. And yet it's free from backers.
Saving me?
To that point.
See, I do a little bit of editing, and I'm still mind blown by how they can just have the speech bubbles pop up like that. It's such a cool touch to it, and just the animation kind of around it. This is cool. So you're doing how long is the film going to be?
I mean, that first scene is a couple of minutes. I imagine it's probably going to be about 15 minutes long when it's all
That's
said
cool.
and done. I've
That's
seen a bit
awesome.
more than what's in the preview, and it gets better and better as it goes.
And Doc Matter's voice was just exactly what I envisioned it would be. It was perfect.
Yeah,
So
I'm happy with his voice too.
We have J. Michael Miller. Oh, damn, he's live too. Thank you for joining us, Jay. I appreciate you getting in here and checking us out. I hope everything's going good on your end. So we have a look at some of the covers here. Daybreak Fighting Doc Matter.
It's
Another.
Mike Zeck tribute, right?
Yeah, Mike Zeck homage by Neto Diaz.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, he's been pumping out a lot of work too lately. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's gonna die pretty soon. He's working too hard. That's my Doug Monkey cover. Doug was nice enough to do a cover for us. There's Neto's. That's Pat O'Leaf.
I love that one.
O'Leaf.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the Mysterious Fauna. No one really knows anything about the Mysterious Fauna except that she pops up and does these covers once in a while.
So this is a scary, scary looking character right here. Like, holy crap, that's pretty ominous in itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's our new character that pops up in the 4th issue. Or is it a new character? Maybe it's Daybreak. Who knows?
So here are some of the preview pages, and I wanted to wait until we actually had the art up for everyone, all the video watchers, so they could see it as well. I really, really loved how it felt like a mesh of like new age art and old art. It's like, I don't even know how to describe this type of art, but it's like, I'm looking at it, it feels like it has that vintage feel to it, but then there's some scenes where it's like the colors and just the palettes that are just like mind melting.
Yeah, I love working with Stefan. It's Stefan's birthday today, the artist of Daybreak, actually.
Hey, happy birthday. You back this campaign. Wish him a happy birthday.
But yeah, I much like Daryl, like he does everything himself. His own pencils, his own. I think some of the pages in different issues to help out, but it's 99% him. And then he handles the color on top of it. He just creates a really distinct looking comic book, different from anything else. I think of it as cutting edge classic, where it's sort of familiar, but then, you know, I don't know, he's a wizard to me. I love his story.
Yeah.
It's good.
And just like,
he'll
go
also
ahead.
take the script and he'll just kind of, you know, something I look for in artists is that he's not afraid to edit my script as he's drawing. If I have 5 panels on a page and he wants to condense it into 3 or whatever, like, I love that stuff. When it shows me the
How do
artist.
you feel about that? Do you feel like it's like, you know, how dare you mess with my script?
No.
No?
So my philosophy, not to get too deep in the weeds, Daryl, is I write full script, but I write it for myself. You know, this is how I visualize the story. And then I give it to the artist, and then I want them to visualize it any way that they see fit. Like, I filter it through their imagination and interpret it to their sensibility. And that to me is, because full script's not collaborative. I'm not asking for input on the script from the artist. When I give them the script, go crazy with it. That's the collaborative part to me.
Does he run past you with layout, or how do you when he's got to make a change, how does he handle it?
I just get the pages finished. He just does whatever he wants.
Keith's like, there are no changes.
No, I mean, like issue 2, I opened up issue 2 with a scene where Daybreak saves these 3 billionaires from a supervillain. And it was supposed to be based on Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and another Xi Jinping, the president of China, was in there, I think, if I remember right. And Stefan texted me and he's like, dude, I don't want to draw these assholes. So I was like, okay, do what you want. And so he created, made it into supervillains instead. He created some supervillains to go in there, some analog villains and open up a whole multiverse aspect in this book that would not have been there without his.
That's really cool, though, like how that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
To me, I'm not precious about this stuff, Daryl. Like, I want to have fun. I want to have a good time, and I loved something like that where you changed the characters into supervillains. Made me rethink that entire scene and made it deeper and better and contributed to the book, you know.
But don't you feel like, you know, it's his job to interpret what you wrote?
But he does. He just interprets it in his own way.
Okay.
And that's fine with me. And if I'm precious about something, I'll put it in the script. Like, hey, listen, I feel strongly about this scene. Try to stick to what I've got here.
Okay.
But I've never done that once ever. But I would. I don't
He's
have
like,
all the answers, bro. I just want, I want to learn from people.
And I just love these scenes in space, like just the coloring, like this fist right here, just like the highlights around it. He just does such a good job with those color compositions.
Yeah, and the people that have been reading Daybreak notice When issue 3 ends, Doc Matter does not have a long beard. When issue 4 begins, he does. So I don't know what that says to anybody reading the book, except maybe time has passed. We don't even know. We'll have to read it and find out.
When you lettered this, right?
Yeah.
I love your lettering in this. I love the way you complemented the different suits, like the different, just sound effects. Right here, this was perfect. There was another one, right here, where he's taking off. It's just so subtle, but it fits just so good.
Thank you. The only reason I really started lettering is because I like to have control over the dialogue. That's what I'm precious about the most. And I always feel guilty if I have a letterer do a pass at something, and then I have pages and pages of dialogue notes. I want to change everything. Because for me, it's organic. It's always evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So lettering my own stuff that I write just gives me the freedom to go back in over and over and over, up until really with number 3 of Daybreak. I think the day before we went to print, I was still playing with the dialogue on the pages, and that's how I like to work.
So let's check out some of these rewards. We have Daybreak issue 4, Digital Deluxe at 15. So what's the deluxe version? Like, what's the extra that we're getting in this?
Yeah, so everybody that backs the campaign, and Daryl, I think you just clicked the button right there and backed it. I sold you on it, didn't I, bro? Everyone gets a basic PDF with the 4th issue, sent to them, the physical and digital backers.
Mm-hmm.
If you upgrade to the Digital Deluxe, it has a lot of back matter. It has the script of the book. It just has a bunch of extra content that you're not going to get for the basic PDF.
We have Daybreak issue 4, print copy of the 56-page conclusion at $20. Awesome price on that as well. We have cover B at $25, and let me see if I can get cover B popped up on here.
There it is, yeah.
Cover C at $25 as well. And D. So I love how you're keeping all these variants at the same price. I love to see that. Sometimes you'll see variants just skyrocket like $20 in increments. So, keeping them at the same price, I think, was an awesome move. What was your reasoning for that?
Boy, it's tough because even spending $25 for a comic book, that's a lot of money for a comic book. So I try to keep it, I was looking at a campaign this morning that's over $300,000 and the way they price things. I would just feel like such a shitty human being if I was charging $50 for like a 48-page comic with a variant cover on it. It's just a comic book.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to charge $50. I want to make as much money as I can. I lose money doing these books on Kickstarter usually. But it feels wrong, dude.
And I think one thing to acknowledge though is at $25, that it's a little bit more expensive than your standard comic, but it's also like double the size.
Yeah, I doubled the prices on this campaign because usually it's $10 for a copy, then $15 for the variants and stuff. But because it's double sized plus, I had to double size the prices to try to make it worth, the artist's while to do it.
It's always a balancing act.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really is.
You never know if you're pricing at the right price point or not. Do you price it lower and get more people? Do you price it higher and get less people? Does that even matter? There's no way to tell.
Even matter.
There's no way to tell. That's the problem. There's no market research out there on Kickstarter.
I bet I could go through my interviews at this point and just kind of break down campaigns and see what pricing affected what, and if they funded and stuff. That would be too huge of a task for me to even consider though. But you're right. I don't think there is a little thing out there that is a guide for kickstarting to that degree. So we have Daybreak issue 1 through 4 digitally at $25. Awesome way to get into the series. Get all 4 books at an awesome price. We have cover E at $35. So this is the new character, the scary looking character, and she looks brutal. I'm loving the design.
Thank you. Yeah, that's again Stefan's design.
We have a Dots only cover at $30. So if you want that not safe for work, get these little bars taken off, back it, spend $30, get yourself one. Daybreak issue 1 through 4 physical at $50. So that's a killer price to get all 4 books. Oh, you got a puzzle too this time around?
Yeah, I'm always trying to think of different things. Like what haven't we done yet that might be fun for people? And then it turns out no one really cares.
I backed the puzzle.
Yeah, you
thought
backed
it's
the
a cool
puzzle.
idea. Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to get one for myself just because it's kind of cool. I'll sell some at conventions, I think. But, just, I don't know. I feel like people are so tired of prints and things like that. I find that what they really want is extra content in the books. And then if I can come up with something different like a puzzle, I'll give it a shot. You can't win if you don't play.
And I've never seen a puzzle. This is the first time I've ever seen this done. How do you even get a puzzle made?
Well, it's because I have a little t-shirt company on the side of things that I play with. The company also does puzzles and they do the mouse pads, which is another reward here. So it's just almost like one-stop shopping where there's some different options available that I can have printed up. And my printer in Tennessee also does a lot of cool stuff. I got to take advantage of them a little more sometimes.
You can get the Not Safe for Work complete set at $80, so issues 1 through 4. We have Daybreak issue 1 graded at $90. It's always so hard to get a perfect 10 on these, from what I hear.
Does it even exist? I've never seen a thing 10 of anything.
Like, it comes straight from the printer. What more do you guys want?
Yeah, I think if human hands haven't touched it, if it goes from the printing press directly into the clamshell, then maybe you can get a 10.
Yeah, it's still steam coming up hot off the press. You can get a Daybreak issue 4 complete set, $100. So all those covers. Awesome price on that as well. I love seeing the price breaks to help out people's pockets. You could get the complete Daybreak at $180. So this is every single main and variant cover?
Yeah, that's every single variant cover for every issue that we've done for the entire series. It's the complete set.
How many covers would you say there are?
I think there's 18 covers.
Yeah. So that you're getting basically every book for $10. One hell of a bargain there. We have the retailer tier, stock yourselves with 5 copies of each cover version of Daybreak at $225. And then we have some original art as well at $450, and this stuff is just gorgeous. I always love seeing these.
Yeah, those are my favorite rewards too. I usually will try to grab some original art. I might even upgrade my horror show pledge and get another Daryl commission because they're so fun.
Original art right here at $500. We have
and Stefan doesn't work on paper. He's all digital, but he did the cover to number 4 on paper, almost as an experiment, I think, and it laid in those gray tones and stuff, and it came out really beautiful.
And then Doug's cover as well. This is just gorgeous.
Doug, Daryl, have you met Doug?
Yes.
He's the best guy, isn't he?
I just his work with anatomy, and I mean, it's sort of like I'm learning to draw veins from looking at Doug's stuff.
Right.
Think about especially Major Bummer. That was one of the main ones. It's just like this guy.
I always tell people
playing around with animation on his social media.
Oh, his animation is so fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm looking at this arm and like, I need to go hit the gym after this interview. Like, damn.
And I was like, hey, put this character on steroids, Doug. Do it your way. And he did.
Right
He's
here.
the best guy and the best artist, I always tell people. He's just so great.
Right there's the link to back this campaign, guys. So there's 2 awesome campaigns, back-to-back Horror Show and Daybreak issue 4. Appreciate you guys swinging by, hanging out, and just catching up and chatting. I mean, so I guess let's do things a little bit differently. Instead of asking, why people should back your campaigns, because we just gave them the perfect reason. They're all beautiful campaigns, all awesome campaigns. Where are you guys heading to this year? Conventions or shows? Where can people find you guys?
You want to start, Mike? Because I think you're doing your first show, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Cool. Keith and I are both doing Allentown in April 13th. And then I'm doing Baltimore in September.
Oh, that's cool.
I got a table with Anthony Stokes.
Let's go.
Yeah, so it'll be a cool team up there.
Let's go. That's awesome. Daryl, what about you? We're both Ohio born, or Ohio natives, I should say. Where can we catch you?
I've got quite a few shows this year. I'm doing Garden State, the Comic-Con in April. No, wait. I think that's July. Anyway, follow me on social media. I always post where I'm going, but that one pops out because I've never done that show before.
Is that New Jersey?
Yes, in New Jersey.
Do you know where in New Jersey? We got to hook up in person one day, Daryl. You know, we never met in person.
I would be kind of afraid to meet up with you after reading Horror Show.
Don't be alone with Mike ever.
The show I used to do in Pennsylvania, Three Rivers. I've done that for a while. I kind of
that's like 4.5 hours for me.
Is it? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And Keith, last but not least, where can people find you? Like, what conventions and shows are you hitting?
I've got a lot. Like Daryl, I've got a lot of shows coming up this year. I think, I'm in that phase of my career now where I do a lot of shows. And, but everywhere from Los Angeles at the end of the year to, I'm in Massachusetts next month, Allentown, Minnesota, South Dakota at one point. I don't know. I have, I think, 2 shows a month starting in March. I don't travel from December to March. I take some time off the road and then I go and do 2 shows a month. And then this year, very exciting. Daryl, I don't know if you're going to be there at Terrificon again, but very exciting for me is that my partner Tom Nguyen and I, for the first time, are going to have our dedicated New Pain table.
Oh, that's so cool.
Terrificon. So I'll have my table and Ars Alley on one side, and then Tom will be on the other side. And then in the middle, we have a third table just for New Pain. And, I'm going to probably cosplay as Daybreak.
You should do Doc Matter. Grow a beard.
Maybe I'll make Tom be Daybreak and I'll be Doc Matter.
There you go.
And, we're just trying to get the brand out there a little bit more. I love, making these books through Kickstarter, and I'm so appreciative that people are helping us do it, and hopefully it keeps growing.
That is so cool. And for anyone that is watching, I will be at Fantasticon in Toledo in March. I think last year I actually met Ron in person there. He was over there. I forgot what. I think it was just Green Lantern stuff he was selling and signing, but had an awesome chance to meet him and get a copy signed. So you guys can catch me there. Yeah, he's all right. He edited Horror Show, didn't he?
Yep.
Yes, that's cool. That's
on Mars.
That is perfect. So guys, make sure to back those campaigns. Last but not least, guys, we always ask a question, word of advice, and then what you're consuming to wrap up the show. So we'll start with Mike, we'll go to Daryl, and then we'll go to Keith, kind of just like in a circle. So let's stick with Kickstarter. What would be, I guess, your biggest piece of advice for a Kickstarter for someone who's getting ready to do their first?
Think that you're going to go slowly. Build up an audience slowly, because it's odds of you being super successful right out of the gate are slim. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So you really want to build up a reputation for quality, and people will hopefully keep coming back. Every time you put out a new book, you'll hopefully get more and more backers.
Solid.
Yeah, not bad. Daryl, what's your thoughts?
I think when you make sure you have a clear idea. I've seen some Kickstarters where I wasn't really sure what their basic premise was. I mean, it's just more like, oh, here's my book or my idea, and I want to fund it. It's like communication, and not having the price too high, and just having clarity on what your idea is. And chances are you have it, else you wouldn't have gone through the whole painstaking process of even putting on a Kickstarter in the first place. So I think clarity is clarity and a not wanting $40,000 for it. Why did I say 40,000? It's not like my very first attempt at Kickstarter was set at that, but that's a whole other conversation. but yeah, you've got to be able to convey to your audience and assume they've never met you before and have never been acquainted with your ideas, because most likely they won't. So make it clear what your goals are and what it is that you're presenting.
All right, and Keith, last but not least.
Well, I think for Kickstarter advice, add titties. It's not, you know.
Sex sales, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for some reason, people seem to like sexy stuff on Kickstarter.
Mhm.
So I would probably lean in that direction a little bit. You know, it wasn't my idea to do these titty covers. It was the backers' ideas that suggested them, and people like them, so run with it. You look at something like Lady Death, which is, you know, not my personal idea of what a comic should be, but boy, they make a lot of money on those campaigns. So look at what works and steal from it. And then I would say work with Daryl Banks if you can.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, Metalhead was, you know, had not safe for work content, and that was, you know, my biggest seller so far. But I wasn't going to pollute a book that I did with, you know, with Daryl friggin' Banks himself with stuff like that. You know, I wanted to be, you know, the utmost quality and professionalism. And it's, yeah, it's a little more of a grind than the not safe for work stuff, but you know, you want to keep that integrity together.
Daryl's sitting there like, you could have had me drawing boobies this whole time?
This whole time.
What do you
What?
think about drawing that stuff, Daryl?
I mean, what would we have done? Like a not safe for work cover with Delia? It's like it wouldn't match.
Yeah.
Daryl, are you opposed to drawing that kind of content?
Well, I that was in Riot Earp, remember?
Oh, that's true, yeah. But it's Wire Up. It's a little more wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Tasteful, yeah.
I covered all the bits up with word balloons.
Yeah.
So last
true.
but not least, guys, what are you consuming outside of creating? You know, what TV shows, what books are you enjoying? Just anything out there that a listener might, you know, take interest in.
Right now, I'm reading a nonfiction book by an author named David Brooks about communication and about how to communicate with people and how to actually listen to people. So, Cody, you could write your own book on that subject.
Daryl, what about you?
I think book-wise, most of the stuff I actually sit down and read are how-to. You know, maybe still, even though I celebrate my 35th year in the industry, I still consider it's a learning process. So most of the stuff is just how to get better at drawing. Entertainment-wise, you know, a lot of superhero stuff. You know, especially I'm a big fan of superheroes from Japan, so it's usually something, you know, in that wheelhouse.
And you know, I think that's awesome, that the fact that you're Daryl Banks and you're like, yeah, I still need to get better at drawing. I need to still like keep investing in my craft. And I think that's a big takeaway for everyone out there, like to never stop learning, you know, about what you're passionate about.
And that's why he keeps getting better too.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Like for real. That's why you keep getting better, because you keep trying to learn.
And Keith, I can't help but notice you've got Get a Dragon in your background. I see.
Yeah, I got Dragon back there. I've had that since I was 5 years old, Daryl.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I've got Rating. So.
Oh, we got to team up, bro.
So Keith, what about you? You know, what are you reading, or you know, what are you consuming out there?
So I haven't read it yet, but I just got in the mail yesterday. Kyle Baker has a new graphic novel called Tardigrade. And Kyle Baker is an effing genius. If people don't read Kyle Baker's books, like there's something wrong with you. So I'm excited to dive into that when I can. And then for shows, I just finished Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Amazon Prime, which is like a imagining of the cheesy movie from 20 years ago or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really well done. Like a lot of they incorporate a lot of the hurdles of marriage into this spy story in a way that felt like, whoa, I've been through that in counseling. I've been, you know, I recognize this beat, you know, so it was smartly written show.
That is awesome. Thank you three for swinging by, hanging out with us. Everyone watching, I hope you all had a fantastic time. Make sure to share those campaigns and back if you're able to. That being said, it's time for us to wrap up. Hope everyone has a lovely, lovely Thursday. But most importantly, keep it geekly.